A classic pyramid scheme is perpetrated from the top down. Typically, a single actor or a small group of actors collects money with the promise that each new participant can do the same. In the late 80s, an early pyramid scheme known as the Plane Game would begin when a pilot charged initiates $1,500 a seat to become passengers, a role that promised an eventual $12,000 payout once each new player recruited 8 passengers of their own before piloting out. The structure of the Plane Game can be visualized with the pilot as a single node on a line graph linked to their 8 passengers. There may be sublevels like co-pilots and flight attendants, but in any case, the pyramid expands dramatically when the first 8 passengers recruit the next 64, then 512, then 4,096. The progenitors of these money-making schemes imagine a pyramid whose bottommost layer includes the entire population of the Earth.
Another Plane Game with a global scope begins with a simple salutation: "Welcome to Flatland." As we discussed in our previous video, the Valve Corporation's Handbook for New Employees imagines the company as a level playing field in which owners, employees, customers, and players all contribute value to the company in the form of what their founder, Gabe Newell, terms productivity. The handbook advertises desks on wheels, no job titles, and being boss-free since 1996. It's a flat, flexible, laissez-faire workspace meant to get out of the way and allow people to do what they do best: be productive. And this attitude extends from the pinnacle of the company in Bellevue, Washington, to the base of modders, mappers, and all the metagamers playing Valve's games. As Newell is fond of saying, the only company we've ever met that kicks our ass is our customers. Their Plane Game begins with a digital storefront, but quickly extends into cosmetic items designed by players using corporate toolsets, a real money exchange in which players buy, sell, and trade items for US dollars, third-party websites which automate the transfer of cosmetics in return for chips on online casinos, and live streamers making a living on casino sponsorships who cultivate an attention economy around winning and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. The result is a complex economic system in which money becomes a game mechanic, and game mechanics become money. This risky business is a microcosm of how money moves in the 21st century. And in the case of Valve's Counter-Strike, the company is not just transforming play into a form of work or wage, but rather work into a gamble or wager through a pyramid scheme that begins with virtual cosmetic items that are called skins.
So Counter-Strike is one of Valve's longest running and most popular mods. It was created in 1998 by Min Guzman Lei and Jess Cliff, and the mod made use of the aiming mechanics and physics systems of Valve's hit first-person shooter Half-Life. Counter-Strike is a multiplayer competition in which a team of terrorists attempts to bomb a target or take hostages, while the other team of counter-terrorists try and stop them. Developed throughout the Iraq War, this game is very much steeped in Gulf War iconography. Guzman and Cliff were the 2 players hired by Valve to steward the game through its redesign for Valve's Source Engine in 2004, and again as Counter-Strike Global Offensive in 2013. Following the success of Team Fortress 2's transition to a free-to-play game supported by cosmetic items, on August 14, 2013, Valve released the Armsteel update for CSGO, which, according to the company, lets you experience all the illicit thrills of black market weapons trafficking without any of the hanging around in darkened warehouses and getting knifed to death. This update made it possible to receive a random weapon skin after playing for a certain amount of time or by unlocking weapon cases distributed after the completion of a given game. After getting a crate, players could buy its corresponding Steam key for $2.50 to spin the wheel at a chance of unlocking skins of different rarities. One could, of course, equip the skins in-game, but players also began trading crates, keys, and skins with other players as well as selling them on the Steam marketplace. And although plenty of players were satisfied with a surplus of store credit for purchasing, then perhaps trading, gifting, or selling software, others began opting to cash out Steam credit by selling their accounts on eBay or selling items on third-party marketplaces, a transaction which requires a certain amount of trust since players must swap not only Steam passwords, but also email passwords for the associated accounts. This extensive economy includes a fair share of scamming, sharking, cheating, and gambling, but it all begins with a skin. So what's a skin?
To put it simply, a skin is a 2D texture file that designates the color of a 3D mesh, kind of like wrapping paper for the different models of guns and knives in Counter-Strike. As Valve's technical artist Bronwyn Grimes discusses in her 2014 GDC talk, skins are a little more complex than just a diffuse texture. The algorithms that determine how they look in the game also drive their value. Skins are, in fact, procedurally generated textures that combine multiple layers of image data into a single shader that produces the look and feel of a given object. The shader begins with an original base texture that produces the ambient colors of a given weapon before adding a series of dust, scratches, and wear texture meant to customize the game according to what is called a float number. And this float number, much like hashes in cryptocurrency, though without a corresponding blockchain, becomes the foundation of the skin economy. The placement, rotation, repetition, and strength of this wear is generated at runtime according to this, a 9-digit floating point decimal between 0 and 1 generated upon unboxing. This video shows the visual gradations from 0 to 1 rounded to the 100th. And the lower the float, the cleaner the gun, and the cleaner the gun, the more it will sell for. So what starts as an aesthetic choice by a technical art team has dramatic economic ramifications on how players use guns, trade guns, sell guns, and most importantly, gamble with these skins.
Increasingly, players are willing to bet these virtual objects on third-party gambling sites that use Steam's API and automated trading bots, which allow players to deposit their skins in exchange for a sub-currency usually called coins. These coins parcel up the value of skins into more finely sliced tranches, not unlike the way derivative markets operate. These derivative coins, backed by the initial skins investment, are then used to bet on esports matches and gamble in a variety of casino-style games. On CSGO Lounge, CSGO Speed, and Skin Bets, you can cash in skins for coins and then bet on live Counter-Strike matches like an online bookie. On GoCase, QCase, and Hellcase, you can deposit skins for coins, then spend them to unlock custom cases with a chance of getting more skins, which of course can be instantly deposited in order to buy more cases. On online casinos like CSGO Casino, CSGO Jackpot, CSGO 777, and CSGO Roll, once you've deposited your skins, you can play a number of different gambling games that include simulations of coin flips, die rolls, slot machines, roulette wheels, and our personal favorite, the stock market simulations that always end with a crash. All of these games are skeuomorphic in the sense that they camouflage what are essentially randomly generated hashes under the guise of more conventional games of dice and cards. The spin of the roulette wheel, flip of the coin, or plunge of the stock is merely a dramatization of a ticking clock, a veneer over a hashing algorithm that determines winners and moves money well before any results are shown on screen.
And of course, the house takes a small cut of these skins with every deposit and every bet, so they are valuable enough to serve as a gray market currency for these websites to use them as their bank. Players can exchange their winnings or losses as skins of equal worth based on what skins are valued at on the Steam market at the moment of cashing out. So it's sort of like cashing out your casino chips into a different set of casino chips. Outside of the Steam marketplace, none of these exchanges are regulated, as price is essentially laundered through a vertiginous series of exchanges and speculation in derivative markets within markets or derivative games within games. In The Uprising, on Poetry and Finance, Franco Berardi writes that, "You cannot find truth in financial capitalism because the essential tool of financial capitalism is this: truth has disappeared, dissolved. There is no more truth, only an exchange of signs." And the reason why any of these practices are legal is precisely because of this dizzying exchange of signs. It's hard to chart what exactly is going on here as this exchange moves US dollars into Steam's market, into Counter-Strike software, into cases and keys, into cosmetic items, into third-party coins, and then back again. And this doesn't even include the other forms of currency floating in this system, like referrals, commissions, subscriptions, and lotteries taking place on live streams that can be found on YouTube and Twitch TV.
To advertise, skin sites will give away tens of thousands of dollars worth of credit to streamers in the form of skin sponsorships, something akin to a casino giving out chips to its highest rollers. This has become a surprisingly popular form of entertainment on YouTube and formerly on Twitch TV.
Another 73. You know what though? This is better than opening Cobblestone, which is shit I actually try to do to pull a real deal. No! What? No! This is bullshit. I promise you this isn't... I'm out of here. I'm actually done with it. I actually don't get it. I promise you. I can't stress enough how much this is not rigged. I don't know if how many people believe me or how much I'm believing, but I know for a fact they ain't pulling the big cartoon switch. Oh my fucking god, dude. Okay, well, I mean, maybe they are. No, they're not. But, I mean, mate, 0.1 and then straight fucking, you're pulling it 1%.
If you're wondering what's going on here, these guys are rolling 10 $75 wheels at the same time and eventually winning a pretty cool gun while promising it's not rigged. As you can see, streamers scream and cry when they lose money, and when they win, they do massive giveaways to viewers who essentially gamble their attention in hopes of picking a winning streamer. It's framed as a win-win for everyone, although many of the promo codes given to new players only credit them with enough coins to tour the system and begin depositing skins that they'll most likely never get back. At every level possible, from the spectators to the streamers to the third-party websites to Steam, it's gambling all the way down at every level of this pyramid scheme.
And if this all sounds pretty sketchy and you're starting to reach for your pearls and think of the children, you aren't the only one. In 2015, Valve was hit with multiple lawsuits after streamers were exposed to be either the owners or employees of the CSGO casinos that they were broadcasting themselves playing. Trevor Martin and Tom Pro Syndicate Cassell were popular YouTubers who failed to disclose to their millions of followers that they also just happened to be the owners of CSGO Lotto, the website that they were gambling on. Similarly, James Phantom Lord Varga was a famous streamer who had broadcast a skin bet with a $100,000 jackpot. Varga's channel was shut down by Twitch after a 60-page document of Skype chat logs were leaked online revealing that he'd been collaborating closely with the owner of CSGO Shuffle to get jackpot outcomes in advance. To give you a sense of scale, Varga was the 7th most popular channel on Twitch TV with 1.3 million followers at that time.
In this case, the plaintiff alleged that real-world injury and monetary loss had taken place as a result of betting in an in-game virtual casino that was a mini-game in the mobile app Game of War. The judge ruled that even though there was a casino in the game, one where you could pay real money to buy gold and then roll the roulette wheel, that overall this game was not a game of chance, but rather a simulation of a game of chance. Because US dollars had been transmuted into virtual gold, which could not theoretically be cashed out of the system, it was not subject to gambling regulations. According to David Kravitz, the judge remarked that, even if he were to decide in the plaintiff's favor, determining the amount of damages she is owed would render him in the unenviable position of pricing the conversion from virtual gold and chips to virtual wood and rock. The reason why courts have typically ruled in favor of gambling lawsuits against video game companies is because a clear line cannot be drawn between the virtual asset and how this object can be exchanged for fiat currency in secondary markets. Throughout the skin boom, Valve has been very careful to distance themselves from any and all attempts by third parties to remove money from their digital ecosystem.
The development of new digital technologies has led to an explosion of financial instruments, both in regulated and unregulated markets. In 1986, Susan Strange coined the term casino capitalism to refer to the incredible volatility that the rise of financial speculation in the 20th century had wrought. The combination of new technologies in the form of computers, microchips, undersea fiber optic cables, and satellites, along with new economic processes like David Lee's development of the disastrous Gaussian copula to model risk, the birth of junk bonds in the 1970s, and the repeal of Glass-Steagall in 1999, all of this worked together to produce a system composed of derivative markets, ultra-fast algorithmic trading, and financial instruments that trade in virtual objects unmoored from a referent in reality. Yet, the effects are still nonetheless felt around the planet. Strange writes, "For the great difference between an ordinary casino and the global casino of high finance is that in the latter, we are all involuntarily engaged in a day's play. The financial casino has everyone playing the game of snakes and ladders." One product of this is after the global financial crisis in 2008, experimental forms of post-national digital cryptocurrency started to appear. Bitcoin and other forms of alternative crypto assets are currently a thriving speculative market, with many investors hoping to cash in on their status as early adopters of non-fiat currency, whose authority is not backed by gold or government, but electricity and computer processing power. David Columbia argues that Bitcoin can be more readily understood not merely as a commodity, but also as a kind of derivative itself, an option or futures contract related to the value of other instruments and on which investors of all sorts can speculate, and even manipulate the market. Likewise, what allows CSGO's skin speculation to flourish and manipulate the Steam market is precisely its unregulated and derivative status, its status as a commodity rather than a currency. Skins are a trompe-l'oeil, or a trompe-le-portefeuille, a trick of the wallet oscillating between the duck of use value and the rabbit of exchange value. Eventually, however, that rabbit is going to scamper away. Players understand they're handling a volatile object whose financial worth is fleeting. There's a crash built into the system, and all the snakes climbing these ladders are gambling that they won't be the last ones to cash out before the pyramid crumbles.
If we look at older virtual economies that have flourished in the past, like gold farming in World of Warcraft, in some ways this represents an earlier stage of digital capitalism. Workers, often from rural China, were employed to till the digital fields of Azeroth, farming for virtual gold that would then be sold to wealthier users who did not want to take the time to grind with their own characters. Alexander Galloway has challenged the distinctions that have been made between much maligned activities like gold farming and other forms of seemingly non-productive leisure, remarking that it's impossible to differentiate cleanly between play and work, and in the age of post-Fordist capitalism, we are all gold farmers. But perhaps today we might amend this to say we're all skin gamblers. Skins represent an even more complex and complete financialization in that players have moved from a mode in which labor time is exchanged for a clear wage to one in which labor time itself becomes a wager in this micro-world of casino capitalism.
Writing in 1938, Johann Huizinga noted the etymological slippage between wage and wager. Based on the Old French gage, which could refer to both the prize won and the money bet on a contest or event with an uncertain outcome, Huizinga noted that in the 20th century, we do not play for wages, we work for them. But in a post-2008 information economy, the concept of wage has been turned upside down and has returned to its original etymological origins, a bet with an uncertain outcome. The wage has become a wager, and nowhere is the precarity and casualization of labor more evident than in video game culture. For every cosmetic art designer making six figures in Valve's workshop, or every esports millionaire, to all these hustlers, streamers, and gamblers, there's an ocean of unremunerated labor on which the entire system depends. These metagames have become money games, but ones with terrible odds, and the result is a corporate pyramid, a not-so-flat playing game where Valve always comes out on top.